In the north, the Basque Country fights on the Republican side. Its newly formed autonomous government defends not only democracy but its own centuries-old traditions. At the centre of this region lies Guernica, a small market town of about 5,000 inhabitants, 29 kilometres east of Bilbao. To the Basques, Guernica is sacred. Under its oak tree, leaders have sworn oaths to uphold local freedom since the Middle Ages. By early 1937, nationalist forces are advancing towards Bilbao. The capture of Guernica would open the road to the city and cripple Basque morale. Monday, April 26, 1937. It's a clear spring afternoon. It's market day. Between 5,000 and 7,000 people, including refugees from nearby towns, fill the streets. At 4:30 p.m, the first formation of bombers arrive. Their stated objective is the Renteria Bridge, a key crossing on the road west of Bilbao. But the bridge is never hit. Instead, the aircraft release their payloads directly over the town centre. The first wave drops high explosive bombs, a second and a third follow. In total, about 22 to 40 tons of explosives fall on Guernica over the next 3.25 hours. Eyewitnesses report temperature-driven firestorms sweeping through narrow streets. Survivors who flee towards the fields are attacked by aircraft fighters machine gunning the roads. By 7:45 p.m, when the last plane departs, the town is burning from end to end. When rescuers enter the ruins the next morning, they find devastation on an unpredictable scale. Out of roughly 300 buildings, only about 60 remain intact. 70 to 80% of Guernica has been destroyed. The casualties of this incident vary dramatically. Franco's regime later claimed that there was just 126 deaths. However, Basque officials report that there was 1,654 killed and 889 others injured. While modern historians comparing eyewitness lists and burial records agree on between 200 to 300 dead and several hundred wounded, this is still a staggering amount of casualties for a town of that size. The raid becomes the first large-scale aerial bombardment of an undefended civilian population in Europe. Within days, British journalist George Steer of The Times and The New York Times reaches the town. His report described German markings on bomb fragments, refuting nationalist claims that Republicans had destroyed their own city. Steer's dispatches travelled worldwide. Guernica, he writes, was not a military target, it was a deliberate experiment in the destruction of a town. International outrage follows. In London, Paris and New York, newspapers condemn the attack as a war crime. The Basque government calls it an act of calculated terror. For the Nazis, however, the raid is a success, a field test for tactics later used at Warsaw, Rotterdam and the Coventry. In the weeks after the bombing, the nationalists continue their advance. By June 19, 1937, Bilbao falls. The Basque front collapses. However, Guernica's name endures, a symbol of civilian suffering and the dawn of total war. Out of the ashes will come one of the 20th century's most powerful works of art, a response painted in black, white and grey by Pablo Picasso, who will turn this tragedy into an image the world can never forget.
In January 1937, the Spanish government commissioned Pablo Picasso to paint a mural for the Spanish Pavilion at the Paris World Fair. Picasso intended to meet the commission with a representation of the freedom of art. However, this is not what happened. Because of the catastrophic bombing of the town Guernica, Picasso decided that the mural should be a symbolic, poignant piece that displayed the atrocities that occurred. Guernica was a statement piece, one on which would remain prevalent for many years to come. Guernica toured Latin America as well as being sent to London, and finally ended up in Spain in the museum in Madrid called Museo Reina Sofia. However, this went against Picasso's will, as he requested that Guernica was not seen in Spain until the Republic was restored. The attack on Guernica was during the day, so the painting would suggest that this was not the case, as it is a very monochromatic colour scheme. It suggested that because of the bombing, all the smoke blocked out the light, so it was very dark, and this is represented in the painting. The monochromatic colour scheme also displays a tone of reverence regarding the amount of deaths, as well as representing the Spanish Civil War, which was the blacks versus white, good versus evil. Picasso draws a lot of inspiration from artists such as Goya and Michelangelo. First, we're going to discuss the influence that Goya had on Picasso. Goya's piece, The 3rd of May, was a painting that depicts a shooting that happens under the cover of the night. Goya adds a lamp to add symbolic value to draw awareness, and the death of the militia loyalist man is a symbol of a martyr. This symbol of a martyr is quite a common image, as it also appears in Picasso's painting, as there is an individual which has both their hands in the air and is coming out of a window. This image is closely associated with the image of Jesus Christ on the cross, who was the ultimate martyr for Christendom, and we believe this to be a representation of Jesus, as Picasso himself was a devout Catholic. The influence from Michelangelo comes from the Madonna and Child, which can be seen in the left-hand side of Picasso's painting, as there is a mother holding her child in the corner. The bull in the left-hand side represents many things, as well as kind of being the symbol of Spain. The bull is also a symbol of fascism, but the bull also adds a bit of Spanish impressionism into the painting, and earlier on in artworks we've seen the bull in the caves at Alta Maria, which were the first paintings of Spain, as there were the ones on the roof, and it also was a nod to the Badajoz Bull Ring, which was another event where the Nationalists had attacked the Republicans, leaving many innocent civilians dead. The smouldering tails of the animals represent the smoke from the buildings during the bombings. So all the animals have these wispy tails, which are obviously representative of the smoke. The dismembered soldier in the bottom is symbolic of the futility of the Republican movement, and the broken sword as well. It's symbolic of the lack of support that the Republicans have compared to the fascists. The dove that is pictured in the top left-hand corner is symbolic of the planes that dropped the bombs, as well as being a symbol of hope, as the Republicans wish that the Republic would be restored and there would be no more violence. The horse in the middle is the main focal point, and the dashes in the horse are representative of how Picasso first found out about the bombing, which was through a newspaper, but it also could be said that the tallies in the horse are representative of all the deaths that happened during Guernica. The woman holding the kerosene lamp is a nod to Soviet Russia, as it displays a communist star, sickle and hammer, as Soviet Russia was the only country to give aid to the Republic during the Spanish Civil War. And the position of women in the house, they're all hanging out the window trying to run out of the house, and the position of women are being contested, and this might be representative of Picasso, who was a womanizer, who had several women on the go at once, so it could be representative of that. And then finally the light, the top is a light bulb, but also can be seen as an eye, which can be symbolic of God watching down and watching all this horror unfold. It also could be symbolic of the bomb. As in Spanish, light bulb and bomb are the same thing, so it could be a metaphor.
Guernica's destruction and Picasso's response remind us that behind every battle are ordinary lives forever changed. As we look back, we remember not just the war, but the people, and the hope that tragedies like Guernica never happen again.
Viva la quinta brigada, rumba la rumba la rumba la, que nos cubrirá de glorias, ay Carmela, ay Carmela.